Hey guys, what's up? Brian from PFC here. This is part one of a three-part video series. This is called Near Jobs and Far Jobs. And we're talking about a very, very narrow, specific task and something that we see a lot of, we could say problems, but we'll also say a lack of efficiencies in solving. What we're discussing here is the manner in which teams of law enforcement officers, wherein one of the law enforcement officers has a less lethal tool, they work together and they employ themselves against an adversary. So the first thing that we're going to talk about here is distance of the less lethal officer. One of the things that we have noted, and it seems to be a problem, is that the officer with the less lethal tool oftentimes tends to be the officer who gets closest to the adversary. Now that may be for a number of reasons. It's because they think they're more likely to take and fire, or it's because in the case of a taser, in the case of a beanbag shotgun or anything, they know that they have a reduced range as opposed to a lethal tool. That makes sense. We understand that, but there's a couple problems that are associated with it. Number one, we see that if they are in fact closest, if they take and they fire and the tool is not effective, then they're going to have to take and transition to a lethal tool. And again, distance equals time, so they're closer to the adversary, and then they take and have to transition to a tool, putting themselves into a rather hazardous position. The second issue, and that is that the adversary may be attracted to or drawn, and their ire may be directed at the individual who takes and uses that less lethal tool against them, and they again happen to be the closest one that is in the mix. So we're not saying to get close, we're saying to be closer. The closer person might be the lethal officer, the lethal cover officer, and in that event, if they do take and draw the ire, or they draw the attention of the adversary, they're a person who's already up on a lethal tool that is a non-effective or a non-successful deployment, and they can take and get on trigger and get to work immediately. Give this one a try, plug it into your system. We think it's a better or a more efficient way to take and solve the problem. Stay tuned for installments number 2 and 3 that are addressing verbal commands, as well as communications to fellow officers and crowds.